Hi, this is Cristina Dam, and this is Liberate the Podcast, where we educate, motivate, inspire, and liberate your consciousness. Hi there, welcome to another episode of Liberate the Podcast. Today, we're going to dive into the philosophies and the foundation behind Tantra. And we have one of our Tantra meditation facilitators, Katie, with us today to share a little bit about herself and dive into this philosophy. Hi, welcome.
Hey.
So Katie, do you want to tell everybody a little bit about you? Like I like to, kind of start that way, see, what comes out, and let's get going.
Cool. So about me, I've been teaching Tantra and in this philosophy for many, many years, but I find with myself and lots of others, it's one of those philosophies that it feels so innate that when I actually found it, and after being in a few different careers and it just kind of came into my life,
okay,
I was like, oh, like there's a philosophy to what I've been practicing in my head, if that makes sense.
Got you.
So it was just kind of like very divine how it all came together, and I have just wrapped my life around it ever since. And
how did it come together? Like, what was that path to that, And when you look at Tantra, like if I look at it on like the spiritual basis, it's an offshoot of Buddhism, And so what specifically are you sharing or relating to? And then how did you find it?
Yeah. What I'm relating to is more of, without getting too specific, but the non-dual Tantra that's really about the philosophy, it's really all about oneness. It's all about merging. It's all about, we all are gods and goddesses that are creating together, within and without. And it's this very like love-based, ecstatic-based, passionate-based outlook on life that I found during a time that it was one of those like very intense breakdowns of life was falling apart. And
when it's really falling together, right?
Yeah, no, for real. It was I can honestly say very dark in the sense of the light was I think when you're closer and closer to that breakthrough, it gets darker and darker. Yeah. And when I did find specifically a class on it and it just all started coming together, I remember just like the crying of like, I don't really know how to do this. I don't really know how to teach this, but I'm going to find out what that is. Because I came from like not a 9-to-5 job, but like a corporate job. And doing a lot of like I focus on feminine and masculine energies a lot too. Okay. And I was so in my masculine and I was so burnt out and I was so exhausted. And it was just like, I'm just going to leave everything I know and everything of what you're supposed to do, right? And I hope it works out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you took a class.
Yeah, it was like a week-long intensive.
Okay, so in this week-long intensive, what did that open up for you or allow for you to be like, wow, I need to study this stronger and deeper?
So the actual workshop, I would say, it was, again, she was the facilitator, one of my initial teachers, was talking about, again, like all these things I'd been studying at this other job when I just was trying to find myself and really trying to, like listening to podcasts nonstop and going to every yoga class and doing every type of meditation. I was lucky to learn meditation since I was like 6. Wow. And so I had like a lot of diversity, but I just didn't really know where it came from. It just, odds and ends. But when I did this intensive, what was really shown to me was she was leading this workshop where people were just breaking their souls open. It was the most intense thing I've ever been to. And then they were coming back together all in a week. And it was just life-changing. And everyone there was in this like ecstatic place where we wouldn't be in deep sorrow. And then we'd all come together. And I was just like, I can't believe you can get paid to do that. I can't believe you could literally devote a life to having people get so raw, so real, and find themselves. Because it was almost terrifying to watch. And then the way it came together was just like, this is the only type of depth I want to be around, if that makes sense, yeah.
Okay.
So it's more like, that's a job. And then, like, yes, the names of Tantra came up. I'm like, oh, that's what that is. Okay, cool.
Okay. And so take me through a little bit more on, like, what was that experience, and then what parts of that do you take with you in your teachings, right? You know? So, like, what kind of things did they do to help you break down and break through and things like that?
It was awesome. It was like, let me see if I can think of one of the specific. It would be so many really interactive exercises, whether it's, gazing into someone's eyes or screaming into someone's like chest as you literally are letting out every trauma or memory. Or we did one exercise where you're admitting to, and I don't want to use the word admitting, I think realizing the oneness of all of us. So we're talking about everyone that's been abused, everyone that's been hurt, that's done drugs, that's tried to commit suicide. Like there was just this unfolding of all these things. I think, at least at my time in my life, were hidden usually. Yeah. And it just brought this intense ecstasy. And Tantra is really all about like the terror and joy of life. Yeah. It's like they go together. So we would be doing this heart-wrenching exercise where sometimes it was very physical, sometimes it really was just, can we be intimate and share something I've never told anyone and be okay to be so vulnerable and raw, trusting that at the end of it, we will come back together.
Got you.
And we'd bring it back together with prayer, with mantra. I ended up assisting this and becoming a coach with this woman, training under her. So I got to lead a lot of these too. And it's just like, there's just so much beauty in the breakdown. It is really the
breakdown to the breakthrough, right?
Yeah.
And so you had these experiences where, is there one particular exercise that you did that was really like extremely memorable for you when you were going through that process that had?
I would say more when I did the coaching certification. So I did that in Costa Rica about a year later. It builds up the same thing. It was really all about, for me, I was going through heartbreak at the time. Like really, really intense heartbreak. And one plays off the other, where I just allowed myself to be so vulnerable and cry in front of everyone and honestly face true rejection. Yeah. Face that I'm still in love with this person. I don't think it's ever coming back. And really exposing that part of myself that would normally be too prideful, would normally be closed up. Yeah. And that freedom that came from that became the basis of a lot of what I do now. Is just, shame tells us we have to hide something versus like the truth sets you free, like for yourself. Yeah. Because everyone can relate, I believe, to being heartbroken or to being rejected in some way.
Of course. Right? I mean, it's the basis of almost every single problem, and even if it's not like that heartbroken love, it's there's, the world gets shattered sometime between, normally the ages of 5 to 9, when the reality of your life, you're suddenly, everything about you isn't perfect, and there's this catalyst that says I'm wrong, or I'm not okay, or I'm not good enough, or whatever that is for somebody, and in a way that is crushing that heartbreak of their soul, right? Yeah. And so now you do a lot of coaching work as well? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so really helping to bring people back and have that level of breakthrough and transformation in their life?
Yeah, I would say the focus, and something you just touched on so well, is almost it's that revealment of I'm not okay. Yeah. And it's from that revealment we're like, oh wait, I'm always okay. Yeah. And the big thing I really like to, I guess, focus on, or what innately started happening, was the beauty of coaching I found is someone really gets to hear their own wisdom. We get to find out that I actually really do have all the answers. I really do know what's best for myself. But yes, I have to be willing to pour it all out there and be willing to also trust that I know. Yeah. To trust that, like, I actually know why I'm here. I know the next step. Maybe not all of them, but I have this wisdom within me that I think a lot of us are afraid to hear, because we're told, right, by the world, it's the external that's telling you what to do always. Versus when someone gets that space just to be seen as a divine person, or like, the answers just pour out. And I would just get wisdom after like in every call because of what someone would share, which was always a beautiful reflection as well.
Absolutely. And it's, it's even if like somebody doesn't know all of the steps, right? Like you're saying, even if they don't even know the next step, trusting that they're going to be okay no matter what unfolds, right? Yeah. And it's finding that confidence in that truth. So it sounds like, with what you're doing and the, your relation to Tantra, if that's what we call this, is really that exposing of the true self.
Yeah, I would say how Tantra is, it wasn't something I used to even like put around what I did.
Yeah.
Until recently. And again, I went through a recent, just a year of intensities this past year especially. And it was Tantra that brought me back to that magic of like, okay, no, I'm already perfect. I'm already divine. Like life is actually blissed out and whole all the time. And it's so easy to get lost in limitation and lack and scarcity.
Yeah.
And there's something so freeing about Tantra to me. It's just like underneath all that is always perfection.
Yeah.
And the higher self that comes through, or with Tantra, it's like, not only do you have inner perfection, it's also very diverse. Like each person has their own. So someone's inner perfection sounds different than someone else's. And beyond that, not only do we have our own diverse wisdom, but we also get to just go by what blisses us out. We literally just get to build a life around
happiness
bliss
and joy.
And happiness, and that's the path.
Yeah.
That's like that next step. And when we learn what that feels like in our body, and we learn how our higher self, if you will, talks to us, it's like, it's a unique path for everyone that to me is just like the enlightened being comes through. And it's so cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, I only say that because, you know, there's the Western view of Tantra, and then there's the core aspect of Tantra, you know. And so in the Western view, a lot of people look at it as sensuality and sexuality. And then but in its pure form, it's actually a religion. It's Buddhism, but it's a different adjunct off of Buddhism, so it's a split. And so, so I was, you know, there's some people that listen that maybe they follow the more philosophies of actually a religion, and then some that follow the more practices of the engagement. So I was just clarifying what it was for the audience sake, and they're both right, and they're both very real and very true, and it's just, you know, getting that language, you know.
What I teach from is, and the books I study, none of them are religion, and they make sure to actually say they're not a religion, because it's more this foundational. And I don't want to be because the scholars in Tantra are unbelievable, and they're so heady and so good. And so I'm not even going to try to quote dates. They would say it's an original idea before anything, the non-dual Tantra. What I do know to be true, or at least from my own experience or what I see with others, is there are all these ideas, and the sexuality part, I think, too, and what I love about Tantra as well is, like, nothing is pushed out. There's no limitation, and I know there's a Western view of Tantra that, to be honest, I try to almost, like, keep my head away from.
And that's why I was, like, I was feeling like it was more like you were following a lot of the Eastern traditions, and I just wanted to clarify. Because totally. Some people, you know, they see a Tantra class as, like, oh, I'm going to have a better orgasm, you know, like, and it's like, no, and, like, how you're describing it. And there's nothing wrong with that, you know, like, and if you can connect and you can allow yourself to connect more with your spirit and your source, that does open up a portal of extreme amount of pleasure, an extreme amount of satisfaction and joy and bliss that people chase, you know. But then there's also, like, when I'm hearing you speak, there's, you know, the oneness, and I am you and you are me, and then these bigger, broader principles and philosophy. And so I wanted to make sure that the viewers were getting that. Yeah.
No, and it's something I love putting in. The message I've always gotten, I guess, recently, of why I started putting it out there through meditation, was there was this call for it to be more, I guess, spread in a way towards its foundation. And one of my favorite concepts is, like, this spanda, which is this pulsation of life, which is everything. It's the ongoing orgasm of everything. Yeah. It's like literally life, that peacefulness, that joy, that perfection. When we feel it or hear it, it is like everything is orgasmic to an extent. Yeah. And that's kind of cool.
And you
have to chase it.
Yeah, expanding in creation. Yeah, and, you know, like, and we're all in this ever flow of vibration and energy, and we can control and understand our energy and the self, which is even like the higher teaching that you're teaching is helping people understand, this is me. I'm okay. I can connect with me. I don't have to be persuaded by this, and I'm okay, which is such a miraculous aspect, because I think that that's the number one thing that's wrong with the world, is people's inability to be their self and be okay with their self, right? You know, and if we could help and connect people and let them chase their truth instead of the prescribed truth, right?
Oh, totally. Totally, because there is that, even in the self-help worlds. I mean, I struggled with, after coaching for so many years, I was constantly on the next thing and the next thing, and then again, it was just that reminder of, like, wait, I'm not broken.
Yeah.
Like nothing's actually wrong. But there's an addiction, at least for me there was, towards improving myself. And like Tantra's like, go back. Everything's in. You're literally perfect and whole right now. And not even a condemning way. It's just like, and then you forget and you go out and then you come back in. And that's the, creation, which is super cool. But it is so, to me, when I'm in that battle almost, of like the everyday of like, what do I do today? Who am I? On and on. It's like, wait. I'm already good. I'm already good. And there's that clarity, that space that can come for at least a little bit, usually.
I love that.
Which is cool. Yeah.
And when you have that clarity in that space, I mean, people can literally move mountains.
Yeah.
Because they realize that power. And that's what that power is their self. And, when you work with, even when you do these smaller like workshops or meditation, what's your favorite thing about really, serving the people to really get that? What is that for you?
I love watching people get comfortable. I love watching people get super strange and just so okay with themselves. It's like when you're comfortable with a good friend or something, but then you just watch strangers do it. And all of a sudden they just, the clothes, the layers come off and like the superpowers come out for real. And it's just, my favorite thing I honestly will say, especially when I do groups, and I've worked a lot with women, especially in these like more ongoing retreats, uncovering, different, because we have the masculine and feminine, but especially the repressed feminine aspects. And almost usually when we touch into our most repressed trait, our most repressed side, because life is like, you are not allowed to do that, it's not okay.
Yeah.
And then it's like uncovered. Every single time that becomes that person's just greatest gift. Every single time. And there's something about watching someone expose a part of themselves that's been so hidden for so long and be totally reborn. Everything literally changes. And so I would say that's one of the most freeing experiences and hopeful, because you see how every single person has their own life path, their own skills, and it just blends so perfectly. Like if everyone just did their thing and was themselves, we would just, and I think we're on that path, but we're going to be so cohesive. There's no need for competition ever. Yeah. Because it's so unique.
Yeah, because everybody is a little different.
Yeah.
I mean, 7.2 billion people, and there's not another you, there's not another me, there's not another anybody, and so if out of all the diversity of human species, there's not even another person that is identical to you, not even identical twins, right? Mm-hmm. Then, it's so funny to think, like, not funny in a haha, but funny in an ironic way that people worry so much about the need to prove that they're better or this or that, or that there's going to be this lack of resources or lack of opportunity when it's really not,
I just learned a new meditation for that one, and I love it. Isn't it a miracle that with all this going on, with how perfect I am, with the fact that I'm creating all of this, it's a miracle I can still be in lack right now. It's a miracle I can still be fighting myself right now, and kind of almost taking this awe-inspiring perspective to be like, oh shit, like, and everything's okay and everything's perfect, and it's almost so miraculous that life can be so expansive and diverse and wild, and we can still get so caught. Like, cool, that's great, that's crazy that there's so much diversity in that way, where you can get so small and then come all the way back out.
Right? I love taking people all the way out, because I mean, we're like this like little tiny ant on this planet, like, and then you go up to the universe, and you're spinning around in the galaxy, and it's like, are you kidding me? Like, look at all of this, and all of this complexity and perfection and expansion, that is constantly going on. Yeah. And we're worried about this one little tiny measly little thing.
It's miraculous.
And the kicker is we won't even remember it maybe even a year from now, maybe not even a month from now or a week from now.
Yeah.
Think about like what was bothering you last month. Do you really even remember? Some of us might if it was a huge thing, but what was bothering you last August? Can you remember?
Yes.
You can.
But it's been a crazy year.
Okay.
But I'm working on even like looking at those things and being
what
like.
What about 5 Augusts ago?
Probably. It's too much self-reflection. No, I'm just kidding. I don't really.
You get the point.
But
you
it's
know,
the same
like
no, totally. It's like the same patterns of minuscule things that become these traumas.
Yeah, it's these patterns, and we can get the overarching, like, this was where I was at, and especially with Facebook reflections and things like that. But, yeah, 3 years ago today, this is what you were doing. You know, like, but the bottom line is, left to our own devices, it would be pretty hard unless we really honestly sat there and tried to really, really dive in and had to use outside cues or triggers or journals or different things to be like, oh, yeah, that's where I was, and that was what I was bothered by. And so, you know.
That's what I've been doing. That's why I was like, I do know, because I've been doing that. Because I was going through to just try to almost like reframe the patterns. Just look at them from that Hawkeye view, like you were saying, and being like, and it all worked out. And it all worked out. Like really trying to get the subconscious mind to be like, it's all unfolding. It's all perfect. The spiral's crazy, but it's all good.
And the spiral is the gift. And I mean, that's like one of the biggest things that I always try to teach people is like, you know, like, literally your tragedies are your biggest gifts, and like everything is always okay, you know, like the things can be crumbling down, situations, you can be in the worst heartbreak of your life, and it leads you to your gift and leaving your corporate job and doing your passion and helping transform others. So it's like, oh, thank you for breaking my heart. Thank you for me suffering so much and loving you so deeply and being so attached that I was able to seek a new direction and support, and that I was left with nothing to the point where I found everything, right?
Yeah.
And like when you get it from that, you know, 20-foot perspective or that few mile view where you look back, you can see how that story was unfolding perfectly for the growth and development of you, right?
Yeah.
And when people can get that more and more frequently with all of their situations of their past, you know, then they can reframe and teach that unconscious mind that the present and the problems and the struggles, these too shall pass. As cliche as that saying may sound, they will pass. And I guarantee if it's operating in your life, there would be nothing that happens in your life that doesn't allow for some form of evolvement or purpose. Otherwise, you wouldn't be experiencing it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like every interaction, you have value for that person has value for you. Otherwise, why the hell would there be an interaction? Right?
Yeah. Like completely. I find myself, and what I would see, I think a lot with, or I'll use the coaching example where we focus on one thing, and every time, even when I'm getting coached, it's like, but I have 50 things, right? But it's just one thing connects everything together. And if we, allow ourselves to be super present with that one interaction, everything can be discovered in that moment. And then life becomes this crazy adventure. Like just every moment is that important. Every single moment. Yeah. And nothing's ever lacking, and it's super fun, and for the most part, no boredom anymore.
Exactly. That's another thing. You know, when you see the magnificence in everything, there is no boredom. There's only fascination, you know, and mystery and awe and complexity and wonder. Like, you know, you could be like staring at a flower and, you know, and you could see the whole details of it, the beauty of it, or you could be bored out of it, right? You know, like, but it's like, if you have that magic, you're seeing, wow, isn't it interesting? Yeah. And all these petals grow like this, and these different thorns, and I wonder what the thing of the thorns were, and why these flowers seem to grow this tall, and these ones seem to grow like this, and then look at all that, and your mind goes down a rabbit hole.
I'm trying not to like geek out too much, because it's like,
yeah, and it's like, okay, you know, but if you're not embracing and being present to the magic, you're just walking past, and you're like, oh, look at, those are all just red roses, so boring, no colors or variety, and then you're like, not taking it in.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, look at the magic of like a freaking cantaloupe or something, you know, or a fruit, you know, it's like everything is like this mystery. It's this magnificent, like, yeah. I mean, I trip out looking at, like a side of a fruit, and I'm like, wow, and look at the seeds, and like, isn't that interesting? What does that mean? Why did they have lines all in the shell of it, you know, like.
But it's one of the best ways I found. Like, I remember the first day I got interested again in life, when I was in, we'll say this was probably on the same initial breakdown, and all of a sudden this childlike wonder came over me again, and I hadn't had it since, like, 2-3 years, like very, very young. And I think for a lot of people, whatever you go through in life, if it's not cultivated, if it's not grown, it can be taken so fast.
Yeah.
And it's essential. And to bring that, or to have that brought back to my life, was one of the greatest gifts. And so I have so much compassion for the missing of it, or when it feels like it's not there, but just taking, even right now, looking at something for just 2 minutes and just geeking out for a second.
Yeah.
Even if you find one thing, and then it will start to grow in time. Because it's so nice when we are in that place where everything is like Alice in Wonderland all the time.
And it is. Yeah. I mean, look at, we built these like crazy little streets and these buildings and the different things that we do, and then you go and look at all the diversity of animals and plants and like the food and the colors and the vibrancies. I mean, like literally, like we live in like this reality of. So, I mean, look at this. This grew in the earth.
I could watch you do this forever. It's so much.
And like this, and like it's like, but I mean, like and there's so much. Yeah. Like a human cannot, in their physical incarnation, we won't even be able to travel the whole planet and go to every city in the world because it's so vast. We won't be able to even go to, our top whatever cities and actually explore them to the depth of it. And then if we try to go to every like different region and area or landscape, like
there's so many of those.
There's so many. I mean, like, what's going on in Antarctica? It only allows 4,000 people a year to go. Say what? Did you know that? They only allow 4,000 people to go to Antarctica a year.
Maybe I heard that recently.
And
to be on that roster.
I want to be on that roster.
Yeah.
I want to see the penguins, waddling away, living their own world and their own reality. Like,
all these little reality bubbles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're all different. And I mean, like, I trip out looking at my dog's reality, and I'm like, I have two, and they're living completely different realities.
I do too. I call it Clash of the Titans. Just,
and I'm always like, thinking about what goes on in their head.
Right? It is so healthy too, even just to get another person's perspective, like anything, to get out of our own confinement.
Yeah.
And it's so cool. We always have that option. We
can't even discover ourselves. Like, I mean, seriously though, we don't even know how
when we're in that, yeah.
Yeah, we don't even understand, even with all the science and all the years, we still don't know really what goes on and how certain illnesses develop or not, or we don't understand, like, why this ends up, or this liver regenerates like this, or why you end up not processing heavy. I mean, we don't even know that.
Yeah.
Right? We don't even understand why we age.
I have ideas.
I have ideas too. I feel like, every 7 years, every single cell of our body is different.
Right.
We're regenerating. We shouldn't be digressing and aging. We should actually be vital and refreshed every 7 years, right? Like, so it makes actually, like, even on a scientific level, it doesn't really make any sense.
Yeah.
Because, we're a new person every 7 years, every single cell of us. So why aren't we a better version of us every 7 years? Why do we age? Why do we, this? But, like, we are not fully understanding any of that. So how can you be bored in your mind? I don't understand.
Well, with that one especially too, I find I love how you think about all this, and I love your perspective. I'm trying to, like, add on to that in the sense of there's so much to be fascinated in, and if you lived in that state of fascination all the time, you're not going to age. There's just no way. You will be as youthful and glowing as you are right now forever. You probably will live forever. That's my, truly, and that is, again, more the tantric perspective, and I'm just like, I'm going to try to prove it. But it's like the more bliss or fascination, the more we're in this expanded mindsets, like limitation is the only reason. Like the mantra of Tantra, if you will, from the philosophies I go from, is it's really exchanging a limited perspective of the world and exchanging that for one that's blissed out, whole, and true. So you're already whole, everything's bliss, and your own bliss is your bliss.
Yeah.
And that's the only truth. That's literally all there is. It's like you're already whole and everything's bliss. So like have at it and you'll always be provided for. Like everything will be fine.
Yeah.
And if we can connect to that space and geek out in our own ways, or like if you just did that, even what I just gained from that too, it's just like everything is expanding, everything is rejuvenated.
Yeah.
And those old stories, there's no room for that anymore. There's no room for the limitation that keeps us in like, this is who I am and I'm this many years old and I'm suffering from this, and you know.
I'm suffering, I'm this, and life is almost over, and then life gets created as almost over, and if there's if there's no will to live or exploration, which I think is like what I'm picking up is
it's exploration.
It's like if there's this whole there's so much more to see, do, and experience, then you're in that childlike state, and so your energy is actually in that childlike rejuvenated state, and you go do 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 because your cells, your body, your energy is telling, I have so much more to do and explore. You know, life is new. Instead of oh, life wore me down. You know, now I have this and I have these responsibilities and you know what, another week, another day. Yeah. You know, but so much of most of the world is lived within that space.
Yeah.
And I like this perspective that you have because I wasn't thinking about it as that expansive state. I was, I was thinking that there is energy and emotions that get stuck in that cause blockages in our energy vibration that cause mutations in our cells, But that's part of it, right? Because if you clear those blockages and you live in this everything's great and there's still so much life ahead of me, then yeah.
And just how it's like your sense of wonder and your child coming out, it's like you never lost it. And I think one of the most magical, I guess, realizations for me in my journey, or what I've seen with my clients, is even when you have those blockages, they're made out of the same thing as bliss. Like nothing is not perfection, nothing is not bliss.
Yeah.
And even just putting letting the child go, seeing it from that perspective of what if this was bliss? What if this was okay? What if nothing was wrong? It's like the cells have to go back to it.
Yeah,
everything. Because everything is from perfection or God or source or whatever you want to call it, but nothing's actually wrong ever.
We all have the divine blueprint of our DNA still in us, so it's how do we...
I think that, what you were doing, I think if we all just sit around you, we'll all just
geek out.
Because it's just that, it's so invigorating. It's so invigorating. And there's something about when just anyone is able to explore what they're passionate about or their perspective of the world authentically, like you just did. It's like, I can watch that forever. I can be around it forever. So even if I'm not having the greatest day, I can just be around someone that's just in their magic, and it's so contagious. It's so contagious. And so, of course, there is that collective conscious that's constricted or restricted. But we've got the internet, we have puppy videos,
yeah,
we have all these
we have coming and seeing you, getting some of your classes, breaking
getting some bliss, man.
Changing those perspectives, shifting.
There's so many ways. And I think that's part of the there's there's just so, even here you found 1 million things to bliss out over.
Yeah, because there is. There's a million at a time, there's so much,
and that's the medicine.
Yeah.
I know there's or at least something I've had to exchange was working for something.
Yeah.
Versus, just be blissful in your own whatever that is.
And wherever you are.
Wherever you are.
Because you're always going to be in a path, right? You're always getting somewhere.
Yeah.
But if you're just so excited to get where you're going, then you're missing out on where you are.
Yeah,
right?
And the adventure never ends. So
yeah, because as soon as you get there, then you're going to get somewhere else. So you might as well just look around out to your windows while you're driving and see, look at that.
It's so much fun. Right? And it makes every moment. And then, of course, if there is a destination, I think it's revealed in that moment.
Yeah.
I think that's, I don't want to misquote. It's just always, the next step is the next step, but it's all literally within. And I think really if we can be so expansive in just one moment, and what I'll see or do in the classes here, they'll be in this blissed out moment just for long enough. They came in with a question. They want to figure out the answer. That's not where you find the answer.
Yeah.
Right, in the seeking, the refined or restricted mode. But then you just go into this open space and you allow yourself to just like have some pleasure, have some joy, have some whatever it is. And then boop, the answer rises. Something is revealed.
Yeah.
Because we just need that space for anything to come up, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I mean, if you have blinders on, or if you have limitations, or if you're holding so tight to something, you're not even aware that you could, you know, there could be something else. There could be a solution that you didn't even think of because you were so narrow-minded, thinking that this was your solution.
Yeah.
Right? You know, and it's like when people go through heartbreak, they're so connected, like, this was my person, but maybe there's a better person, right? You know?
Yeah, it was like, oh wait, this was all about me loving me, and I thought I lost myself, but that was it was so hard to detach from.
But that's okay. You know? I mean, like we bond but there's part of the human cycle and the human condition that we go through is that learning what attachment and non-attachment is.
Yeah.
And in order to understand one, you have to experience the other, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And some people have the opposite lesson where they're so unattached from everything that they need to know too attached to something. And sometimes people get too attached to something, and then that loses or leaves their life so that they can realize that they don't need to attach, right? You know, but it's like everything. I mean, like we're going through these lessons.
Yeah.
And that's all life is, right?
For the attachment, you might find this is something that a different, I guess, perspective is, because one of the things I was struggling with at one point in my life was I love passion. I love how when I love something, whether I'm studying something or anything I do, it's just like I grasp on. I'm like, let's go. Like, and letting go isn't my favorite thing for sure. And I was reading, one of my tantric texts where it's just like, grasp on, but realize what you're grasping onto is just you. Like, realize what you're grasping onto can never leave you. Yeah. So you can go. You can like all the way in. Because the essence of it will always be there. Truly, truly, truly. You can't lose it. Yeah. And there's something to be so profound about that is the different personalities, whether you're not attaching or attaching, it's like you can be with how you are and embrace it, but bring, I guess, almost full permission into it, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And to reiterate on that a little bit, it's like that attachment is a reflection of an aspect of you, right? Yeah. And so if this thing brings you an insane amount of joy, or if you love like this aspect of this person because, I don't know, they're a musician and they're super creative, but I mean that you're attached to that creativity in you.
It's the aspect. I like how you say that. Yeah.
And so
like focusing on what the actual essence of it is.
Yes. Yeah. What are you so attached to?
Right.
And then realizing that that's awakening that permission for that to be present within your life. And so then if you can say, how can this be present in my life anyways, right? Okay, where have I denied my creative self so I don't have to be obsessed with this person, right? Or whatever it is, right?
Exactly. And there is something, at least for me, studying so many different modalities, I do so much better when I get that expansive, like, you can be attached, go for it, attach. But understand what you're attaching to in a sense, or it's literally, there's no wrong or right way. Yeah. Find the bliss in it, and then the answer comes, if that makes sense. Of course. Like you said, like the essence, it's just the essence of everything, right?
It's the essence of everything. Everything's a mirror. Everything's a reflection. And if you can stand in that and be attached to what you're attached to, and know that is you, then And then also, like, if you're super attached and you're doing that and you're not learning a lesson, know that your lesson is coming for whatever that is. And then you can be along for the ride and say, okay, well, I'm at least learning and growing. Absolutely. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to dive down, and this might not be the healthiest thing for me, but, it's an experience, and I want to have the experience, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I wonder, the lesson. For the lessons to get easier, I think that's a really, or at least what I experience with a lot of clients or people coming in, is how do we almost break the pattern of the lessons have to be so intense and so hard. Yeah. And when I was even doing that journal thing where I'm going over all my years, and I love the hard lessons. And I think for a long time that was because I had that sense of accomplishment from, beat another thing, and then I got through this one, and there was something about looking back and being like, but you were perfect then too, and you were perfect then too. And even in that breakdown, I know you didn't have the breakthrough yet, but like you really, really were perfect then too. And so there was something about not needing, or what I try to really help my clients find is if this could be easy, if you really did already know, if you didn't have to get the smack in the face every single time by life, right? What would that need to, like, what would life need to show you right now? Or what could you reveal to yourself in this moment? Because there is that, the essence in every moment, the answer is right there.
Yeah.
Right there. And it doesn't have to get harder if you don't want it to.
Yeah, and on the hard thing too, I want to note that like it only becomes hard because you're attached to needing it to be a certain way, or that it's wrong, that it's not that way, or happening in a different way.
Yeah.
But I think it becomes easier when people learn to dance with life. Okay, this gets thrown at me. How do I maneuver? All right, well, I'm not going down that road anymore. I'm going down this road. Okay, let's figure that out. But when you're allowing yourself to actually maneuver and kind of go with the flow and be like that river that like fades around rock and goes, and sometimes it erodes the foundation and the rocks, and the water is powerful, but the water is fluid, and the water is flexible, but the water doesn't stop moving. And when can we allow that? Now, it doesn't mean that sometimes it might feel pressure, it might feel like it hits a dam for a moment, but it keeps on going.
What if the pressure felt okay? What if the dam felt good? Something I'll do with clients is I'll actually have them move. I do a lot of movement with coaching or any workshop I do where, it needs to go this way, and I let them, all right, tell me how it needs to go. Tell me everything. And feel your body, and feel how restricted you are, and there's no better wrong, just like feel it. And we're going to explore 5 more, ideas, and I'll have them move and explore. And we usually will use the elements, or like if it was a pathway of water, what could it be like? Or we'll look at a random object. This amethyst was going to show you or tell you a secret of how to do it. And again, that childlike wonder, having 50 other options all of a sudden, it's just freedom. The person can remember, it's like the boundless universe. Anything can happen at any moment. Totally forgot about that. Cool. And there is just sure, ego can have its one way, but I'm just going to see what else there is for the moment to see what that's like.
And you can still end up having that one way, but the knowing that there is more than one way starts to
feel so much better. So much better.
No matter which way you take. And there's no wrong in the way that you take. There's only your path.
Which is, it's just like that, it's just constant liberation. And the water, water became such a gift. One of my favorite books is the Tao Te Ching. I was on a backpacking excursion in Alaska for 60 days or something.
Beautiful.
It was, but I almost died so many times, and that was beautiful. I had constant primal fear coming up. So many grizzly bears, attacked by moose, literally. And the only book I brought was that, and I was just reading it over and over, and it became the thing that saved my life, because the essence, the Tao or the way, it just be water. Let it come through you. Just let life come through you, and there's nothing to be afraid of ever. And I went from being like this all the time, literally bleed, because at one point the skin of my hands came off. It was just every terrifying thing that could happen kept happening because my mind was doing that. And by the end, it was can I be like water even when there is seemingly real danger all the time? And that was just profound freedom of just water really is the most powerful element in that sense of it can go through anything, rough, high, low, it doesn't despise anything. And that was we really are freeing. Water.
If we're hydrated, we're 80 to 90%.
There's a whole other thing really.
We're dehydrated, maybe 70.
Which is a whole other fascination thing of what? One of my favorites is just feel your body as water. And if you allow yourself to just go there, you're what am I? It's wild. It's really wild.
We're more space than, matter. One of the things, in Nissan Harriman, he says that, scientifically, if you took every human that's in existence or was in existence, that's the trippy part, and you put the actual matter of them, they would fit into a sugar cube. Our physical density of actual matter of all humans that have been and are 7.2 billion, I think like 9 billion or something lived before us, whatever it was. But they would fit in a sugar cube. Like, that's all we are is physical space is a sugar cube. All of us. Not you, not me, everybody. We fit into a sugar cube.
And that's right. It's like, it's miraculous that we get stuck in what we get stuck in.
Yeah, I mean, we're like one granule on the sugar cube, you know, like.
Yeah. My mind's gonna take a while to like even.
Yeah. Right? It's just.
That is incredible.
And I'm like, I don't exist. I think I exist.
Exactly.
But this is space. This is space, you know, and like we hear that and get that, and then so it trips me out. Like I'm still convinced that when like the little kids in martial arts, like they see through the bricks, they see through the space, and that's why they're cut through it because it's actually not even there.
They're just seeing the reality.
They're seeing the reality, and bam, these big things, you know. But that's what, if you ask a martial artist, or say, you know, well, how do you do that? Oh, you see through it. You see through it. And so you're picturing, they're already picturing their hand on the other side, and it's going through it, and bam, these big logs, bricks, wood, whatever the case may be, snaps. And so it's like, okay, now that's an instance that I think anybody can relate to, seeing a video or something of some point in time when a martial artist did that. And, you know, that's not a magic trick. They're not finding the weak spot in the wood or the weak spot in the bricks. They're tapping into a different mindset and reality, and they have to be so certain of their belief that their hand's going to go through, otherwise it's going to get bloody and break it.
Oh my God. I love that so much.
You know?
I love that so much. And I think what we were talking about earlier, I've seen that what we're attached to is the essence of someone. It is almost like seeing right through the sugar cube space, right? Like into, because at that point it's not even sensory. It's just, I don't even know what you would describe it as. It's just that it's just where it's the knowing, that it's just the witnessing of one soul to the other. That's beyond senses.
Yeah, it's beyond senses, it's beyond awareness, it's other dimensions, you know? I don't know. But when I get, you know, we can go down rabbit holes all day, but that's my mind. I just never stop being fascinated with things because there's so much to be fascinated at, you know? And if we can just waken other people, like, I trip out all the time. Like,
I need to go in your head for a day. I don't think I'll make it past a room.
Yeah.
I can't. It's so cool. I love that. I love that. Because it brings out, that's still, you know, it's something that I just find it the greatest gift.
Yeah.
To see life through, because that to me is so much more reality than anything else.
Yeah, and I mean, and like, you know, people, if you're listening, try that. Try it when next time you're cooking. Look at the tomato you're cutting. Look at the mystery of it. Like, you know, the cucumbers and the mushrooms and how they grow, and just like think, and how many people had to get that and pick that and get that to you. Yeah. But like even the magic of like all the diversity of our food, like that trips me out.
And
you know.
Totally changes the way it tastes too.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And when you give it so much love and stuff like that.
Yes. It's just
I like to talk to it. I'm like, oh, look at you, little guy. Thank you for feeding me. I don't even go into it, but like the bonding with it, then it's like, bye. Yeah.
But how beautiful is that? I love you so much. I'm going to consume you.
Yeah, and like you were here and you grew so beautifully to allow me to, you know, now take that on and, you know, like, but, you know, I think that really does help. And it's like seeing that corn and being like, hey, buddy, you know, like, thank you.
Yeah.
You did great. You were an amazing corn on the cob, you know?
Because it is life, too. And I love, too. It's like speaking to it like it's life because it is life. It is
oh, my God. Yeah. Like, true story, like, I forget who I met with, but this documentary maker was making a documentary about plants, and I don't think it came out yet, but they showed me a clip of it, okay? Plants, yeah, it's been said that they have consciousness and intelligence. But they have so much consciousness and intelligence. So what they did in this documentary is they clipped up different lights to different plants, and they gave them different musical tones that they could play with the lights.
No.
In the plants, they started playing, and like the different, like this plant was like a bass, and this plant was like this, and they started making music together. And then when somebody came in, they made more music. And then when somebody came in, they said, what would happen if I just ripped this leaf off this plant? They all stopped. And they didn't play any music. It was so trippy. And it was like, oh my God. So however they were like, they did it, the plant was able to play the music through the vibration and the lights.
Oh my God.
And but as soon as the person said out loud,
oh yeah,
what would happen if I just ripped this leaf off this plant? They completely stopped. So not only were they aware,
yeah,
they could freaking understand English.
yeah,
You know?
Yeah.
They got it. And they stopped playing.
Yeah.
And it was like the plants went into fear mode.
Yeah.
Like, how trippy is that?
But
You know?
I want to. The music part is the most unbelievable.
Oh yeah, you should. It's gonna come out. I think it got picked up on Netflix, so it's gotta be. It's coming out soon. But it was just like, and I was like watching it, and I was like, this is freaking amazing. Like this is gonna revolutionize everything.
Right.
You know.
Let's hope so, because there is. Everything's alive. Everything's a part of us, and there's something about like how everything's in rhythm. Like there's music to everything, which to me is so groovy. Like
the vibration of life is music. Like in the tones that go on. You know, like everything is a wavelength, right?
Yeah.
You know.
And we're like playing together, whether you know it or not. A lot of us are. The two examples I use are it's like, what is your theme song of your life, right? So it's like. I would love to know yours, right? Of just like this fascination, like so like almost loud and beautiful and symphonies, versus a lot of people where it's like they're not even participating. Like life is trying to grab you and get your attention and participate with you and answer your questions and give you all you want, and you're just like, no. Because the other example I use is if we're going to use the sex part of Tantra, it's like, what if every moment of your life you're participating like you would, like you're having sex, in a sense. It's like,
well, and then how many people don't participate?
Precisely.
I'm sorry.
No, for real.
No,
but that's the
they're not even aware.
Yeah. Like, it's like life is literally wants to orgasm with you. It's not a weird thing. Like it's dancing with you. It's this spanda, and so many people are just looking for the thing that's not there, where you're in the experience, or they're on their self, or whatever.
Yeah. Or they're in their mind, or they're somewhere else.
Which is without judgment, but like, what if you really were just having sex with life, or making this theme song, and how would you actually want it to go, and how pleasurable would that life be, whether it's dancing or participating or
absolutely
orgasming all the time, like whatever it is, you know?
But the sheer bliss of life and existence, but in being aware, and I think that you could use that as like the sex example, is people tend to be more aware of their senses and their feelings and their touch during, but still it can be heightened way more with people, but if you took that awareness and then you allowed yourself to experience and say, how do I experience more? How do I enjoy more? How do I embrace more? How do I be more?
Yeah, because life is always like air is touching you. Wind is, when you're walking. I love when I walk my dogs. Nature will animate when you look at it. Yeah. Like when you look at the flower. It does know exactly. It totally knows, and it becomes so much more interactive. Where it's just like everything's participating with you if you're willing to play, type thing.
Yeah. If you're willing to play. Yeah. Yeah. And life is a game if you can play it.
If you can play, if you're playing it anyway. Just I don't poorly.
So it might be just being controlled by everything else, but you can choose to be the participant in the active role in the game of your own life.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. That was in Alaska. I was talking to plants because at one point, I did it all the time when I was little, and I loved the idea of it. But then when I really was in a place where I was like, I just need to talk to a plant, like things were scary, and I was getting answers, and I was like, I'm just going to trust this. And when I finally got back to the internet, because I asked them what are these? And and I Googled a few things. I'm like, oh, they really were talking to me. They told me so much. And
oh my God. And then when you work with plant medicine,
I've only started dabbling, and it's just like my mind
and
goes,
then you're like,
everything we need is here.
Everything. And the intelligence and the awareness and the expansiveness.
Yeah.
When you seek,
Yes.
you shall find.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like that saying, when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Yeah.
Life is there when you're ready to live it.
Yeah.
Life is there to give you the most pleasurable, amazing, beautiful, loving, expansive experience when you're ready to receive it.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is so exciting because in every moment you can get that support or help or interaction if you want it.
Yeah.
Like, I think going to class and things like that are obviously awesome, but I'll never, just sitting by a tree is, getting out in nature is everything. She'll teach you everything.
Absolutely.
Or the city, or all the, just
everything.
It is everything.
Oh my God, it's such a pleasure.
Yeah.
I feel like we could go on for hours.
Definitely.
Well, where can people find you at? I know you teach some things here, but your website?
Yeah. So my website is katiepelkey.com.
Okay, we'll put it down there. So easy click.
Down there. And that's really, I'm on Instagram.
Okay.
I'm on Instagram and YouTube, meditations. I would say the best way to know what I do is through my meditations. So Insight Timer or YouTube. There's a bunch of them out there.
Perfect. And so we'll put all those in there. And if you had to leave people with one thing, what would it be?
You're perfect. Right now.
I love it. Thank you.
If you enjoyed this conversation, like it, subscribe, and share it with your friends. If you want some more amazing resources on your path of liberation, head over to liberateyourself.com and sign up for our mailing list. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram at Liberate Hollywood, all one word, or Liberate Emporium, all one word. Until next time, liberate yourself.